A very good evening to all our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Evening Review. My name is Toivon Jabela, your host. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Conrad Lutombi. He is the CEO of the Roads Authority, and he is here to help us just understand and perhaps contextualize the issue around the Karibib Usakos Road that the Roads Authority has awarded a tender for recently, and there's been some confusion because the company that has won this tender is said to be not paying taxes. And Mr. Lutombi is here to help us understand how the process works. Thank you, Conrad, for making time. Give us that sense of understanding, because I think that these people at Namra are not happy. There's this confusion that, how can a company that doesn't pay taxes get a 340 million tender? Yeah, if you can help us.
Yes, good evening, Toiva, and thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yes, probably how we should address, maybe to give the background.
Yeah.
The project between Karibib and Usakos is an expansion to a 2+1.
Yeah.
Like the current Okahanja Karibib. So it's a continuation of that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, from Usakos it will proceed to Swakop.
Okay.
Yes. We started the procurement process last year.
Yeah.
And that was the first process was the pre-qualification. And then we, out of the pre-qualification, we had about 7 contractors or bidders who qualified. And at that stage also, the compliance to the Public Procurement Act was adhered to in terms of Section 50, which makes compulsory for contractors, if registered in Namibia, to comply to the good standing and other national documents. Now, this tender, the pre-qualification went through an international open bidding. Now, the implication of the international open bidding is that if the company is not registered in Namibia, then it does not need to provide the good standing. But after the award, it's a requirement that they need to comply to the national laws.
Yeah.
But if it's registered in Namibia, it has to comply to Section 50 of the Procurement Act.
Yeah.
So at that time, the process, all contractors, those or bidders, those who qualified, met the requirement. Now, after that, we proceeded with the financial bidding, which is the last process, which was done again in terms of the requirement, the evaluation requirement as per our Act, and also in compliance with the KFW. Remember, this project is funded through a loan provided by KFW of chairman. So we needed also to incorporate their procurement requirements. And when the project, the tender closed, in terms of the Procurement Act, I think that is Section 52, we appointed a bid evaluation committee. And that bid evaluation committee then also looked at all requirements again. And the contractor who came successful complied with that requirement. And after that, a report evaluation report was provided to KFW for them to do a due diligence and also to ensure that it complies with their procurement rules as were incorporated in the bidding document. And that process was done. After that process was done, then we then notified the bidders, and we had a 7-day standing period, which during that time when we notified the bidders, that's when we had the issue of the NAMRA, the case between the successful bidder with NAMRA.
Yeah.
And our position is that we have complied, and they met the requirement, meaning all the requirement. And those are the only documents which we are having which are valid. So as to how they were obtained, or whatever happens with whether the contractor arranged with NAMRA or whatever happened, we are not privy to that. And at the time when this information came, we were already at an advanced stage. And you don't want to go back and reopen the process, because we have to comply to the law. So that's why we are saying that from our side, we have not awarded a contract to a bidder who does not meet the requirement. We have awarded a contract to a bidder who meets the requirement in terms of the law.
Yeah, yeah.
As to whether that bidder, there's a problem there, we are not privy. That's how we view it up to this stage.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Do you think, Mr. Lutombi, then that I think that the general concern, and it's very good that you mentioned, you really laid down the process and how it went. When you talk about good standing, what are we referring to? Does paying tax, for example, feature in a tax certificate? Is it part of the requirements?
Yes. When in terms of the law, the good standing certificate, meaning good standing with the receiver of the revenue, in this case, NAMRA, good standing with the Social Security. There's also other documents like affirmative action and all these other. That is what we say good standing in terms of the law. As to whether that refers to paying taxi or not paying taxi or whatever, that's a different, probably a different. For us, we look at the good standing. What is incorporated or what is prescribed in that good standing by NAMRA, that is not our issue.
Yeah.
So they could be looking on many issues which I don't know. Yes. So probably paying receiver of revenue is one of the criteria. I don't know. But we say when a person has a good standing certificate, that's what we consider.
Yeah. Yes. In this case, in this specific case, was good standing with the receiver of revenue one of those requirements? Were you provided with some sort of certification?
Yes. Those documents were there. And remember also that the good standing must also be valid. So because they are time also bound. So it must, if it has expired or if it's not valid, then you are not supposed to accept that. So they had valid documentation which are required in terms of Section 50 of the Procurement Act.
Yeah. So essentially, if I understand you correctly, Mr. Lutombi, you are saying, because you are a major contractor, you give out really huge multi-billion dollar tenders. So what you're saying that from your side, you simply, if that tax certificate is one of the requirements, all that you need is for it to be issued, valid for the period under review, and whether there's payment for tax or not, that is none of your concerns as a ROS authority. You must simply be provided with that document.
Definitely, and that's what the law says. We rely on that document. And of course, if you if you feel that maybe this document might be forged or whatever, but you must have grounds for that.
Yeah.
So at the time, from the pre-qualification and up to the award, we have no reason to believe that the documents were forged.
Yeah.
And therefore, we rely on the strength of that document. But most importantly is that they must be valid for that period under which the tender is under consideration.
Yeah. So, of course, that now as that major contractor that you are, or I don't know if contractor is the right word, but a state entity that issues these tenders, do you think that the concerns are valid, even if now, of course, Roads Authority is not to blame, of course, as you explained it quite eloquently, that the people generally of Namibia are concerned that there seems to be some detachments between state entities. NAMRA wants companies that benefit from state contracts to be also compliant with tax laws of the country. Now, there seems to be no proper synergies between these state entities to make sure that, colleagues, we have selected this entity. How are they in terms of complying with your rules that side as a taxman? You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm simplifying it, but these synergies, because now there seems to be an element of fragmentation. These ones are issuing a contractor as they should, but the winner of that contract owes state so much money. Do you think there's need for some sort of collaboration?
Of course, of course. Look, I think the intention is to ensure that the companies registered in Namibia, doing business in Namibia, must be able to comply with all the laws of this country, including the law relating to tax. And that's the idea. Of course, because we have different responsibilities, as Roads Authority, we are a state-owned institution, there to manage the national road network of Namibia with a view to achieve a safe and efficient road sector. And I'm sure NAMRA has also their own responsibility. But all of us, we have to comply to the law. But remember that what we are complying, us as an institution, is the Public Procurement Act. But it's not, in this case, we are not looking at the law relating to tax. We don't know that. But NAMRA, they are the experts. They know that. So there is really a need moving forward. I'm sure it's not only this case. There could be also other cases where there could also other public entities who are also relying, I'm sure even the Central Procurement Board, relying on the same documentation. So there is a need as we are moving forward to bring synergy, into the issues that how do we ensure that these documents, as we are provided, are indeed the correct or the right document in terms of their authenticity. So there's a need to collaborate on that. And we, Roads Authority and NAMRA, we have a very good relationship. And we are collaborating on many issues. Vehicles, we are responsible to license register vehicles. Some of the vehicles are being imported outside, so they need to comply. So we have that good relationship. But in this case, either we should maybe find a way that we can then verify with them, but that must also be highlighted in the law.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, because if it's not highlighted in the law, you again start infringing on the other parties' rights in terms of them complying to that law.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We go for a very quick break and then return with Conrad Lutombi.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Save your budget one bargain at a time with WB. Get 900 gram Hugo's Jam for $29.99. 2 kg Rice King Rice for $32.99. 1 kg Mama's Washing Powder for $26.99. 10 Soft and Gentle Toilet Rolls for $34.99. Plus, our budget combo for just $389.99. See all our super savings online at www.vurmanbrock.com. We care.
The show continues. Now, Mr. Lutembi, what can you tell us about the fact that this very Karebe Usakos Road, there was another debate maybe a month or two ago when it came to light that all the 7 companies that have been shortlisted for the project were Chinese companies. How did we, I know that you've explained quite well in the papers, but I think it's another opportunity just to let our viewers know what led to all 7 companies being Chinese.
Yes, you are right. We have explained, as I've said, that in terms of the Procurement Act, there are several methods of procurement. You have open national bidding, you have open international bidding, you have restrictive and other methods. So in this case, in compliance also to the financials, we went for an open international bidding, which required us to go internationally. And there were a number of bidders who did submit their bidding, and I know some of them from South Africa and all these kind of things. Unfortunately, the participation from our local companies was very small. And therefore, again, we went through the process of evaluation, and then that process produced the 7 contractors to meet the requirement. And again, that process was tested against the requirement of the KfW. They did their due diligence, and they gave a no objection. Yes, I know that before we went, during the tendering process of the pre-qualification, we received complaints from CIF regarding the requirement. And we therefore said, and we relaxed some of the requirements. In fact, on this project, Karebe Usakos, the requirements are much lower compared to the Marientau CES. So that's what we did. Most of the issue was now the financial aspect. Yes, there were some proposals which were put on the table, which we could not support from the quality and specification of the project in terms of design. So yeah, that's how we found ourselves in that situation. And what we then did, we then unbundled this project, and we included then the participation of 4 local Namibians to tender with the contractors. And that's how we came up with the current appointed SME. Some of them are not SME, they are emerging contractors, most of them, who are also going to be participating on the project in terms of surfacing, looking at the bridges or culverts and guardrails and all other issues which they will be dealing with. Yes, that's really what happened. Our aspiration, and in terms of the objective of the Procurement Act also, is to capacitate the locals. But when you go out, you are looking for the best, who will give you the best in terms of the technical know-how, the financial know-how. You do not, or financial capacity, you do not want to have a situation where you start the project and the contractor fails to deliver. And these are things which are happening here in our beautiful country, not only in Namibia, most other countries. If your process to get the entry of the contractor is low, you are likely going to have contractors who don't meet the requirement or who will not be able to execute the project. And then you affect the very same people or customer you want to save, and that is the Namibian people we want to save. We want to give them the best road which will live for many years when me and you we are gone. That's what we want to do.
Yeah. The final question to you, Mr. Lutombi, then is if you can also unbundle in not so many words, we have 2 minutes left, but it's called KFW or KWF?
KFW.
KFW, the German Development Bank, which is funding this project. Why are they involved in the requirements, in requirements for bidding? Because surely you are paying them back their money, and I thought they will confine themselves to that and say, look, Roads Authority, here's the money, go and recruit whoever you want, as long as you return our money. Why are they involved in that process? How does it work?
Look, even a bank, a local bank, if they give you a loan, they will go and check and see that the product to which you are going to use that loan, you will be able to produce that. So it's not only KFW alone. We have dealt with African Development Bank, we have dealt with JICA. It's most of these international funders, they have those procurement requirements, which you must, because the intention is for them to make sure that indeed that loan will be able to produce that road which will meet the needs of the country. So they are not involved in the bid evaluation process, but they do a due diligence of no objection. They are also involved in the looking at your bidding document to make sure that indeed it meets all the requirements and also their process. That's why there is an exemption, because in terms of our Public Procurement Act, once the entity has approved or the central procurement has approved, that becomes final unless when there's a review. But in this case, you have to give exemption to allow for a no objection by KFW. So I think the intention really is to safeguard and make sure that there is, whatever that loan is going to be used, it's going to be used for the right cause, which will produce the intended result. Instead of investing money and then here the money fails or the project fails, that's not really the intent. So they are not interfering. It's a process which happens. Most, even the World Bank do that.
Wonderful. Yes. Mr. Lutombi, thank you very much for making time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. That is Conrad Lutombi. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Roads Authority, explaining the process and logics that were followed regarding the awarding of a multi-million-dollar tender for the expansion and upgrade of the road between Usakos and Karebe. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.